Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in this video. So I got a few requests on my direct messenger that I should speak a bit on retrogression and its possible impacts and how this phenomenon happens and why this happens. Okay, so this video will cover those topics to the best of my knowledge. And before we get to the main topic, kindly like the content, share it if you find it useful, and leave behind your comments in the feedback section. Okay, so retrogression. Okay, and this is a very, this is a very intriguing subject, but it is generally very less talked about because there isn't much information available on retrograde planets except for a few rare classical texts. Okay, and you know so if someone asks what is retrogression is actually called vakra or vakri. Okay, it is vakra, basically it is vakra in Sanskrit, and it is defined as the condition of a planet where the planet appears to move backwards. I'm stressing on the word appears. Okay, but most people don't understand this concept. Okay, so we have to consider a hypothetical situation. Okay, say you are traveling in a car at the speed of, say, 60 kilometers per hour on a circular road, which is like a racing track. Okay, and then there is another car traveling at 100 kilometers per hour on the same road. Now let us assume that both of you start at the same time from the same point on the road, and you will see that you know the car traveling at 100 kilometer per hour will go ahead of you because it is traveling obviously at a faster speed than your car at 60 kilometers per hour, and it'll go far and far away, and it'll again overtake you from behind after a while because you're traveling in a circle, right? So what you see is that the car traveling ahead and ahead, it covers a full circle and then it overtakes you from behind. Okay, now let's assume that the car which is driving at 100 kilometers per hour, the driver applies the brakes and the car reduces its speed to, say, let's say 20 kilometers per hour. Okay, so now your car becomes the faster one and you will be overtaking the other car. Okay, so you will see yourself moving ahead and the other car being left behind. This is what retrogression is. Okay, that means when you are overtaking the other car, you see the car moving backwards and being left behind, right? The car is still moving ahead, but because your speed is faster, you are leaving the other car behind, and so its position with respect to you is reducing in place of increasing. I hope I have been clear here. So this is how retrogression happens. Okay, so it happens because the speed of revolution of that planet changes with respect to the speed of revolution of the Earth. Okay, and it gives the illusion or the appearance of that planet moving backwards in the sky. Okay, it is still moving forward. All right, don't say that retrograde planet moves backward. It appears to move backward. The planet is still moving forward, but at the Earth's speed and movement, it looks like that the planet is going back. Okay, now when does a planet become retrograde? That is another question, but we need to answer. Okay, the simplest answer is a planet becomes retrograde when it is far away from the sun. Okay, now before going into the astrological details, I'll try to explain it astronomically so that we get a clear picture. Okay, so astrology is all about degrees, right? And we only and we when you speak about degrees in astrology, we are only talking about one dimension. Okay, now for those who do not have a physics background, dimension is a measure in a particular direction. Okay, say for example you want to measure length, it is one dimension. You want to measure width, it is another dimension. And when you multiply both, you get the area, which is a two-dimensional measurement. Okay, so simply speaking, I'll not complicate it, a dimension is a measurement in only one direction. Okay, so now when we talk about degrees, it means we are measuring only one dimension, right? For example, if you see the sun in the sky, the sun follows a specific curve in the sky, right? Let me share my, let me share my screen. I have an image ready. Okay, here it is. You see? Yeah. So if you see the sun in the sky, the sun follows a specific curve, right? Every day the sun rises in the east, follows the same path in the sky and sets into west. And this path is known as what? The elliptic, right? So more or less all planets appear on the ecliptic, not elliptic, ecliptic, okay? Because the solar system is set in a particular way, and so the entire solar system, including our sun and all its planets, appear on the same line, okay? You see this, you see this line in this picture as I've shared? So this green line is the ecliptic on which the planets are located. And when we say a degree, a degree is nothing but a given length on that line. So say Mercury is at 1 degree and Venus is at, Venus is at 14 degrees. It means they are that much distance apart on that line. Okay. But the planets can also be up or down above the ecliptic. As you look at this pic, you will see Moon, Saturn, Mars, Jupiter all appear a bit above the line. Okay, so in the same way, they can be lower the line also, right? Now, the degrees represent the longitude for the planet. And when we say that a planet is at 14 degrees in Cancer, we are actually telling about its longitude. And the distance above or below is called the latitude. Okay, now, one thing to be noted, people often confuse this. The one thing we must note is that retrogression and combustion are not dependent on longitude, but on both latitude and longitude. Okay, so combustion happens when a planet is close enough to the sun. Okay, and however, it is possible that both Sun and Mercury are at 20 degrees Aries, but Mercury is too much above the ecliptic and so is visible. Okay, similarly, retrogression also depends on both longitude and latitude. That is the reason combustion should not be considered as a plus minus 6 to 7 degrees from the position of the sun, because that is not true. Okay, latitude and longitude have to be taken into account. All right. Now, I'll not go into combustion here. Roughly speaking, okay, we'll stick to the topic. Roughly speaking, each planet becomes retrograde when it is at a certain distance away from the sun. Okay, and Parashara gives those distances. Okay, Mercury approximately 15 to 20 degrees ahead of the sun, or 15 to 20 degrees behind the sun. And the degree will vary because, as I said, it depends on the latitude also. Okay, Venus approximately 30 degrees away from the sun to 30 degrees behind the sun. Jupiter, okay, so when Jupiter is in the 5th to 9th house from the sun, okay, sun travels faster than Jupiter, so it moves ahead and reaches the 5th house from Jupiter. Okay, so from there, Jupiter becomes retrograde until sun moves and reaches the 9th house from Jupiter. So what it does is it reduces the distance between them to 4 houses. Okay, that means 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Okay, Saturn, when it is in the 4th to 10th houses from the sun. Okay, same logic as I just said. Mars, again, when it is in the 6th to 8th houses from the sun. Okay, so there are a lot of things that happen to a planet which is in retrogression. Okay, and speaking astrologically, the planet moves away from the sun, right? So sun is the king in the planetary kingdom, and it is the one who keeps the other planets under its control. Okay, there is a lot of talk on how the sun and Saturn are enemies, or how the sun and Rahu are enemies, but what happens in reality is wherever the other planets are placed apart from the sun, it is the sun that has given the planets the order to sit at that position. Okay, say for example, you have the sun in the 5th house and Saturn is sitting in the 11th house. Okay, so Saturn and sun are both looking at each other, so it is the sun who has ordered Saturn to do that. Okay, because the sun is the pivot around which all planets move, and it is the sun that rules over all the other planets. That is the reason the sun is the karaka of the soul, the natural light of the soul. So when a planet is close to the sun, it needs to obey, right? It's just like having a police station or being around your boss. Say you are in a meeting with your boss, you cannot misbehave. Okay, but then when your boss is away, you are free to do as you please, right? So the first thing is that retrograde planets are uncontrolled planets. Okay. So since what happens when you don't have any authority? There are two things that you can do. You can take it as an opportunity to take the lead and do much better, or you can take it as a complete freedom where you are not answerable to anyone, and thus you're free to misbehave and create havoc with no control. Okay, so this is the first sign of a retrograde planet. It becomes uncontrolled, it is crooked. Okay, it is behaving very differently from what it is supposed to do. Say Saturn in the 12th house does bad. You don't want Saturn, a planet like Saturn, to be in the 12th house. But if a retrograde Saturn is placed in the 12th house, it can actually do good. All right. So there are 3 stages of retrogression, as there are 5 stages of retrogression, as Parashara has described, and each will have a different flavor as well as a different result. Okay. Now, the first stage is the slowing down stage. Okay. And initially, as I said, a planet is moving ahead and later it appears to move back. So naturally, it would have some retardation. Okay. It would have to slow its speed and become stationary before it appears to move back. So this first stage is about slowing down, where the planet begins to, slow down its speed. Okay. Next is the stage of death. So this is when the planet appears to stop after beginning to slow down. Okay. And in this stage, the planet is neither moving ahead nor is it moving back. It remains at the same degree for a very long period. Okay. Then there is retrogression. Okay, in the stage of being retrograde. So here the planet begins to move back in the zodiac. Okay, so its degree is reducing. For example, say the degree of the planet, say, was in 10 degree Aries, it would start reducing to 9 degrees or 8 degrees or 7 degrees and so on. Okay, and then there is the stage of slowing down and death. Okay, so what happens? A planet, after being in retrograde motion, would begin to slow down, and then after a while the planet would become stationary. Okay, and then when it comes to direct motion, the planet would resume its direct motion and begin to move ahead after its retrogression is complete. Okay, now all these stages will have various effects as well. Okay, say when a planet is slowing, the energy is being taken away from that planet, right? So what happens when you apply brakes in a car? It generates heat, and the energy is wasted as heat. Okay, so when a planet is slowing down, its results would begin to diminish, as it would be transferring from a direct planet to a retrograde planet. Okay, and a retrograde planet has different results, a direct planet has different ones. Okay, so while slowing down, as I said, there will be a mix. Some results would be that of a direct planet, some would be that of a retrograde one. Okay, so it is a state of confusion where the energy of the planet is pretty much divested. Okay, and as a result, it is unable to yield particular results. Okay, so when the planet is dead, it is neither direct nor retrograde, and this is the worst form of retrogression because the results can be very weak despite a good placement. Okay, so it means the planet is as good as dead. It is not giving you any good results or not giving you results at all. Okay, so as I said, when a planet is retrograde, it would show certain results of retrogression. Okay, and the results of a retrograde planet change in a lot of ways, and I've given a few generic results, but as I always say, the entire horoscope has to be analyzed. Okay, but in general, these are the results. Okay, number 1, as I said, the planet would behave in a very crooked way. Okay, so it also means that the planet leaving its own nature. For example, if Saturn is strong, one would be hardworking and laborious. But if retrograde Saturn has a very, if Saturn is retrograde, it can make a person very lazy. Okay. Similarly, say someone has a strong Jupiter, so it makes one very pious and religious. But a retrograde Jupiter does the opposite. Okay. So, it does not necessarily turn a person into an atheist, but it can certainly make one have radical thoughts which are different from family traditions of the person. Okay. Now, there is a misconception that a retrograde planet will always give the results of the 12th house from it. Okay, so this does not happen in all cases. Okay, it happens only when the planet is under, is over 25 degrees. Okay, if a planet is retrograde and is over 25 degrees, only then it will start giving you results of the 12th house from it, otherwise not. Okay, then if a retrograde planet is exalted, it will give you the result of a debilitated planet. If a retrograde planet is debilitated, it will give you the result of a exalted planet. Okay, similarly, if a retrograde planet is aspected by malefics, it gives bad results. If it is aspected by benefics, it gives good results. Okay, now being away from the sun, the planets become, that planet which is retrograde, it becomes independent. And if a planet, as I said, is exalted and independent, it means it is getting, it is getting too much of happiness, which can make the planet arrogant, very strong, very proud and vain. So, as I said, if a planet is debilitated and retrograde, it will give the results of being exalted. Okay, and when it is exalted, it means that the planet is free, it is strong enough to rebuild its strength. Okay, it need not follow the rules of the sun. Okay, it is free to revolt. So retrograde planets, as I said, they are very much affected by association. Okay, such a planet gets very easily influenced. Okay, and as I said, retrograde planets are also very independent. Okay, so just like a man is known by the company he keeps, the company of a retrograde planet makes them good or bad because they do not have the authority, to exert. They do not have any authority exerted upon them. Okay, now a retrograde planet gives the result of its karaka bhava. Okay, so say if Mars is retrograde, it would give results of the 4th bhava from it. Okay, if Jupiter is retrograde, it will give the results of the 5th bhava from it, and so on. Saturn is retrograde, it will give the results of the 10th bhava from it. Okay, now retrograde planets are very strong indicators of change. Okay, say Mercury is retrograde, it means there is a change in the field of education, change of school, change of college, change of education stream, and so on. Okay, now if there are too many retrograde planets, okay, I'm not speaking about Rahu and Ketu because they are always retrograde, but if there are too many other retrograde planets, it means the person has a habit of starting things, but the person can also quit midway. Okay, again, retrogression and combustion both are about planets as an entity and not planets as lords of houses. Okay, so effects of retrogression and combustion are related to the karakatwas of the planets and not lordship. Okay, so say if Jupiter is retrograde for Aries, that does not mean the results for the 9th and the 12th houses would change. Okay, again, retrograde planets, I've seen this happening. Retrograde planets give results in the later half of their Mahadasha or Antardasha. Okay, and major results related to the Karakatwas or a retrograde planet would be experienced when the planet goes retrograde in transit. For example, Saturn goes retrograde in transit for almost 6 months. Jupiter goes retrograde in transit for almost 4 months. So that is the period when you will be feeling the results of the Karakatwas of the planet that is retrograde. Okay. So as I said, if you have several planets in retrograde, it means you'll have the habit of starting things very easily, but you will also quit things very easily. Okay, but then retrogression, don't mistake retrogression as being always bad. Some retrograde planets can produce very strong Raja Yoga because it makes the person very independent, very self-reliant. Okay, and even if the horoscope has a little amount of strength, then that planet would help the person become a very accomplished personality. Okay, so this is all about retrogression that I had to share. Okay, please let me know if you have your feedback, if you have something to say on whatever I have assessed here. And as I said, please share this video with your friends if you find it useful. Okay, so that's it from me in this video. I'll see you soon in yet another video. Namaste. Om Gurave Namaha.